cues to reinforcing. Oh my goodness, if I could say enough about anticipation guides, I would. These cues are really what's happening at the beginning of the unit. You're going to want to cue students for two reasons. You want to activate their prior knowledge, and you want to get them interested so that they're motivated to learn. So basically, some of the ideas here teachers don't often think about is skimming with a question guide. You want to use inferential and analytic questions that allow them to be their own thinker. Allow them to make connections to what they already know and what they're about to learn as new information, so that in the end, they can all be prepared for higher order type of thinking and questioning. Two other cues, connecting by concrete real life. So getting them interest again, and then advanced organizers. You want to use these at the beginning of the unit. It's so important. If you have the plans to do cooperative learning, give the group an advanced organizer. They're going to be able to lead their own thinking and their own learning while you are circulating the room and giving feedback that is timely and consistent, and helping them focus on the objectives through using a cue or some sort of a early advanced organizer. Non-linguistic, again, this brings us back to the graphic organizers. It is all but natural for us as adults and children to take a word and a phrase, put it together, and make a mental picture. When you are able to make vivid mental pictures with new learning and old learning, you're going to be able to remember that whenever you are in different contexts. You're also going to want to make sure for non-linguistic representation that you are using models and manipulatives, mental visualization, student-created images, and kinesthetic movement. Kinesthetic movement is huge. Cooperative learning, yes, you're having them move around, work together, and also for gestures. So whenever you're learning a new concept, a new vocabulary word, you want to use gestures so that the students are moving around and, pounding or making rain. It just really depends on what you're having them do. But those gestures, connecting it with a song, you can see a lot of people remember songs they learned in elementary school all the way up to when they're adult on difficult concepts and difficult ideas. So here's some graphic organizers. I think it's really important to remember when you're using a graphic organizer that just because you use a cause and effect graphic organizer that you like doesn't mean that your student's gonna like it. You need to have some choice. So maybe do 2 or 3 choices of each graphic organizer. Challenge your students. Have them choose a graphic organizer that is specifically for time and sequence, or specifically for cause and effect or main idea, because you know what? If they have some buy-in and you give them a challenge, that is going to be a tool that they can use in different subject areas. So the 6 different types here are thematic maps, so main idea, cause and effect. This is a time. So basically taking a process or a strategy that they need to know and putting it in an organizer for them, or having them fill it in. An episode, we also have generalizations and events. All of these different graphic organizers are important, and what's even more important is that you as a teacher don't pull out the wrong one at the wrong time. So in order for a student to be able to complete it, it needs to be modeled. Before you use this with them, by sitting them off on their own, you need to teach them. Teaching the process is going to help with comprehension, and it's going to help with not running into misconceptions. Also, providing feedback here is going to be important because it's going to set a tone for the learning environment. Summarizing and note-taking. I love taking notes. I do it out of the norm, and I talk to my kids about that all the time. I make boxes and squares and pictures to help me remember things. So basically, you want the kids to, adults or students that are kids, to be able to have choice. So the choice lies in how much they have to take notes about, and the format for which they take notes about. You're going to want to teach them to take notes both by hand and also using technology, because both ways are going to be important in the future and now. Provide teacher-prepared notes. If you're expecting a kid or an adult that you're teaching to take notes, and they don't know how to take notes on topics, and they write just about everything that's coming out of your mouth, then they're not a good note taker. They need to be taught systematically how to take the notes. Give them a teacher-prepared note for Unit 1, maybe even partially filled in for Unit 2. Then in Unit 3, they're probably going to be feeling comfortable enough that they can take notes, good notes, better notes than they could when they entered into your classroom. Homework and practice. For me, homework and practice is always a hot topic, because I feel like a lot of students and a lot of parents that I hear from are viewing homework as just another thing to do at night. Homework needs to have a goal. Homework needs to be presented in a way that you are making sure that it's practice. You don't want to send home something new that the students have never encountered, because they will probably or likely study wrong. That way, they are going to practice makes permanent. They are going to make something permanent in their minds that is incorrect, and that is difficult to fix. So make sure that you are not sending home practice that has never been seen before. One important reminder is to send home work that is fluency work. You can send home fluency work for speed and accuracy, because ultimately we want our students to have speed and accuracy, but in the classroom we don't often have times, because we're teaching towards rigor and higher order thinking. So that is a perfect opportunity for students to work on at home. Before I go on to the next strategy, I really want to make sure that I hit on another important key factor. If you are not planning on providing feedback, then do not send it home, because feedback is so important. If you do not provide feedback, it gives the assumption that the work is not important. So this can be feedback that is explicit, or it can be feedback as a grade. The more explicit, the better. However, time is always an issue. I know that. And just make sure that you're not sending home busy work that's not getting attention after it's turned back into you. Similarities and differences. This is where we start looking at comparing, classifying, teaching metaphors and analogies. Again, I couldn't say enough that teaching explicitly is so important. We oftentimes have these big abstract ideas that we want our students to do. A lot of these strategies, kids are not, and adults are not going to be 100% comfortable with. But the more you explicitly teach, the more comfortable they'll become, and the more motivated they're going to become. So whenever you are teaching these higher order thinking strategies, you need to really make sure that you are doing your best to explain it so that you're not setting them up for failure. You want to set them up for being effective learners. Deduction versus induction. This is where we are going to really figure out how expert we are at teaching. So whenever you are asking a student to apply knowledge, to extend and apply themselves, when they are given hypotheses to explore, generate, and extend, they need to understand that there are deduction, which is using generalized rules, but then there are inductive types of hypothesis generating and applying. So if a teacher is not solid on the background of the content that they're teaching, then they're going to want to stay away from using the induction, because this is when a lot of misconceptions don't get addressed. I know that I've seen a lot of cases in graduates and a lot of students who go all the way through their class, they graduate and they think that they know a concept, but they really don't understand it. So please, if there is a concept that you are feeling the same way about, just know that we are all feeling that way about it. And the best way to be able to extend your knowledge is to take a hold of your teaching and ask for help with your colleagues, attend professional development on things that are out of your comfort zone, because that's a way that you can make sure that you become an effective teacher or a more effective teacher, because we are all in this very difficult profession and we're all doing our best. Teachers matter, and with that said, it is probably the most difficult, challenging, emotionally, cognitively, physically demanding job that anyone has ever had. So come back to these strategies time and time again, use them, apply them when appropriate, and have fun teaching. Thank you.